Welcome to the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright, an exciting thrill ride through the wonderful world of HBCU athletics. Before our trip begins, let's set a few ground rules. First, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Second, hit the like button. Third, please be sure to tell someone else about this show. Now that we've got these things out of the way, it's time for our journey to begin. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the lounge here on Wild Wednesday nights. So tonight, we got a few really good things to talk about. I just wanted to make sure that everybody just kind of had a time to come on in and just be themselves in the lounge tonight. So as you come on and you enter into the lounge, my only ground rules are that you hit that like button early and often, and also you make sure you share with somebody that this show is on. All right, so we're gonna have a good time tonight. As the preachers like to say, I will not be before you long. Usually when the preacher says that, they could be lying, but this guy is not gonna tell you a tale tonight. We just gonna have a good time. We're gonna cover a few good things. And yeah, let's get it done. Hope everybody's well. So we got a lot to cover in such a short amount of time. And also I'm gonna make sure you get a chance to holla at me tonight. All right. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kill this track and we're gonna go silent here. Okay. Second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring you up to date on a few things that everybody already knows, but we're gonna take the time to talk about it. Okay. So first and foremost, we've got an updated ledger of all the head coaches that are out the door. And there was some additions added today. And you know, these things this thing continues to turn. And you know, in the year 2024, that change is never going to make sense. Some of it does, and many of it doesn't. I will say that the three or the two names that are on this page that really surprised me was Kendrick Wade and Byron Brown. Okay. I was very surprised, especially with Kendrick Wade, as Miss Mac says, Valley being Valley. Exactly. I was really surprised about Kendrick Wade getting let go today because, as everybody knows, those some real tough circumstances that you got to deal with down there in Valley. Yeah, Dave, very surprising. You got a whole lot of circumstances you got to deal with down there. Of course, the obvious one is funding, but they were beginning to start doing some things in terms of the infrastructure. They got a new turf field. They got a new scoreboard. They had a first team all SWAC player, receiver, Nathan Rembert. They had some things that were working that it seemed like. Now, obviously, they went 1-11, but the one game they won was at FAMU, and then there were a host of others that they could have won. So I was really surprised that Kendrick Wade got the hook so quickly after 2 seasons. But we may not know any other, there may be more to the story that we may not know. Okay. Byron Brown, I was a little bit surprised because he chose to step down. Okay. And it said, was he fired or was he resigned? The news that came out about Wade is that he was fired. Now I'm not, again, it's just one of those type of things where we just say that perhaps there's more to the story than what the media or what the news cycle will tell you. What up, my boy Merlin? Of course, we know about Coach Maynard. We talked about it on my other show with my From the Hill podcast crew. We talked about that last night with our athletic director, Dr. Bryant. Talked about the cycle and talked about the path to hiring a coach. And if you want to check that out, make sure you do so. He had a lot of rich nuggets in there. Vincent Brown at North Carolina A&T. That was an interesting one because when he was hired, people were just like, who? What? And Vincent Brown, it appeared that he was going to see an additional season. As you know, they went 1-11 or 1-10 his first year and 1-11 this year. Now, North Carolina A&T, they've had a proud tradition. They had won a lot of games. They'd won the Celebration Bowl 4 times in the 8 years that it's been in existence. But over the last couple of days, alums and donors began to speak up and said this Vincent Brown experiment must come to an end immediately. And so much to the fact that the rumor mill and the cycle says that they're looking to hire Fort Valley State head coach Sean Gibbs. Now, if you remember Sean Gibbs, that's where all this stuff continues to turn. If you remember Sean Gibbs was the guy who the former athletic director Sykes at FAMU wanted to hire last year. And then instead, after they had a search firm, spent the money on a search firm, she said, this is the choice that I have. They overrode her. You know the story, so on and so forth. James Colsey's now their head coach. Well, Sean Gibbs, fast forward now, he's the guy that they're looking to possibly be the choice there at North Carolina A&T. Okay. We'll stay tuned to that. Dawson Odoms. Now, that's an interesting one because everybody remembers his time at Southern. And he had a 6-5 season his first year at Norfolk State, and then his last 3, So now Dawson Odoms is looking for work. And the story that has been making the rumor cycle about Norfolk State is that potentially Michael Vick could potentially be the new head coach there. Now, that is not really confirmed. There's been a lot of news about it. It's been talked about. And, if it happens, that would be one tremendous story, obviously. And it would get a lot of traction and people would be, jumping around and seeing what's going on over there at Norfolk State. Obviously, if you don't know, Michael Vick is from that area of Virginia originally. And of course, he was a star at Virginia Tech. Yeah, Daryl Smith. Yep. Allegedly. And yeah, does he have a college degree? That is, and it's funny you bring that up, Ms. Mack, about does he have a college degree? Now, that's something that's been tossed around as well. Because Michael Vick, we don't know if he has a college degree. Obviously, he left early from Virginia Tech. And it hasn't been said if he went back and got a degree or not. So, but I can tell you, though, if Norfolk State really wants this guy to be the head coach, he gonna be able to get something done, right? Okay, is what's up, man? So who else got fired? Okay, so you see Kendrick Wade and Lee Hull, they were let go. Lee Hull was yesterday. Vincent Brown was today. Kendrick Wade was today. Now I'll go to the next page. All right, and then just yesterday, Adrian Jones of Shaw University, he was let go. Okay, so you've got. Let's go back one. You've got 1, 2, 3, 8, now 9 openings in HBCU football. Okay. Now, as you see here, I've got the records going by the numbers of all the coaches that got fired. Okay. You look at Kendrick Wade at Valley, Vincent Brown at North Carolina A&T, and Lee Hull of Delaware State. They each went 2-21 over their 2 seasons. They each went 1-10 and then 1-11. Okay, yeah, you get fired when you go 2-21, especially with Vincent Brown at North Carolina A&T with that large alumni base and that large proud tradition that they have in athletics. They ain't having it. Lee Hull, he had a little bit of a tough situation there at Delaware State because if you haven't seen their facilities, Take a look at them, y'all. They facilities, man, look. There are middle school stadiums that look better than the stadium that they play in for football. Also, where they play basketball and volleyball. Okay, 2-21, each of those guys. Adrian Jones, who you're looking at from Shaw, he was there for 8 seasons, 35-45. Okay. D2 football, that's not really a bad record, but he lasted 8 seasons. Your boy Dawson Odom's 15-31 in 4 seasons. You lost more than half your games. No surprise. Maurice Hilliard, Elizabeth City State is a very tough place to win and play football. I'll show you on a slide that's coming ahead how tough it actually was. Bubba McDowell actually broke even. Okay, and we know we've been talking about Bubba McDowell for a few weeks. Now, I'll pause there with Bubba McDowell because one of the stories today also that could be, it hasn't been proven, is that potentially Clark Atlanta head coach Teddy Keaton may become the head coach there at Prairie View. Again, that's speculation, not been confirmed. It's just been kind of thrown out there. Okay. So you'll see how that progresses. And then Byron Brown at Lane, he was 17-25 his 4 seasons. And then you know about our guy, Coach Connell Maynor. Okay. Now, let's look at the next slide here, y'all. Okay, here you go. Oh, here we go. He has a degree in sociology. Okay, there you go. Good update. All right. Last winning seasons from from the places that are looking for head coaches. Okay, Valley. 2006, y'all. Whoo, man. Some of y'all probably had kids that were born and grew up since the last time they had a winning season. Norfolk. Really, it's 2011, but they had some violations and they had their wins stripped off of that 2011 MEAC team. So 2007 for Norfolk State, last winning season. And then I talked about Elizabeth City State. 2012 for Elizabeth City State is the last time they had a winning record. Tough place to win in a remote area in the northeastern part of North Carolina, okay? And they have limited budget. Delaware State 2012. And then you see North Carolina A&T, Lane, Prairie View, Alabama A&M, and Shaw more recently, okay? Now, this leads me to this next piece here, okay? When we talk about coaching. And this is where I want to just kind of get with the audience here. All right. Now, we talk about this stuff all the time. Retreads and recycled coaches, right? I didn't list any names here because you all have seen all the names that have been floated around, okay? You know the familiar ones, okay? You know all the familiar faces. You know, the retreads and the recycles, okay? Now, Lee Hall, who I talked about earlier here in this presentation from Delaware State, he used to be a head coach at Morgan State. Okay. And then some of the other guys had like Coach Connell Maynor had been a coach at a few HBCUs. He was a coach at Hampton. He was coach at Winston-Salem State. Okay. There's a lot of guys that have been thrown out there, like your Fred McNairs and some of these other names where, you know, guys that have been in the league for a while and all that different kind of stuff. Okay. To a degree, it kind of gets a little bit tiring to see some of these names. And the reason why I say that, in my opinion, and you can tell me in the comments how you feel about it, I feel like today in this day and age and the market that we're in, it requires to have coaching where you've got fresh ideas. You've got to be able to get completely outside the box. Okay. Now, coaching is not just coaching anymore. And that's something that I want to make plain to everybody as well. Coaching is not just coaching football. Okay. It ain't even just coaching basketball. It's not coaching any sport anymore. The reason why it's not just coaching anymore is because you've got to do not just recruiting of new players. You got to recruit your own players because you have the transfer portal. You've also got to do fundraising. You've also got to do media appearances. You got to do statewide appearances. You got to do community appearances. You got to do all these different things that do not necessarily have anything to do with X's and O's and being on the field, right? So in today's day and age, when we talk about retreads and recycled coaches, this is something that I always frown down upon when I see some of the names that are thrown out there, is because these are some of the names and some of the people that we've been trying to get away from. Some of the guys that have been named, I'll just keep it real. The game has somewhat really passed these people by. Now, it's not to say that they can't be a helpful ear to a head coach. It's not to say that they can't be a successful coordinator. It's not to say they can't be a successful position coach, because they definitely can. And some of that experience and veteran nature that can be used in other routes. But to put men that have been in these situations for many, many years at all these different HBCUs, and then to bring them up and say, hey, we think that they should be a head coach. That's something that I just really, really want to get away from. Because when you're talking about these fresh ideas, you might have guys that have come from some of these power programs. You might have some of these guys that have come from, the NFL. You have guys that just really just love football and really love coaching, and they're willing to take a step down, maybe some levels, to get a coveted head coaching spot that they really have been chasing at higher levels but have not been able to get. And sometimes when we throw some names out there, I'll go back to, and I'll use this for an example, because, and I'm not endorsing this gentleman, but I am going to use him as an example, because this was completely fresh and out the box. When Jay Hopson was hired as head coach at Alcorn State, obviously, he doesn't look like all of us, but he did a really great job, and he introduced a lot of guys who weren't in HBCU coaching, who ended up cycling through and becoming head coaches, like your Willie Simmons and different things like that. So you never know what you can do unless you take a chance. Now, there's a big reason why all of these coaches are being let go. And I also saw before I went live that Dooley was let go as the offensive coordinator, which we already knew. And that's another thing, another person who was passed down in different positions within the SWAC, right? You have to have the ability to do something brand new, something different that you haven't typically done. And I'm going to say this also. A lot of the older alums out there, okay, that have like this is how it was in my day, that doesn't help what you're trying to get done in the future either. Because when you come with this is how it was in my day, it takes away from the ability of leadership and administration to try to lead you into a new path. I truly believe that there's been a lot of these athletic directors that are either present or have come and gone that have wanted to do some wonderful things and do some fresh and new things, but they were restricted by administrations that were stuck in the past. This is how it was, this is how it could be, this is how it does, this is how we spent money. Sometimes, man, you just got to simply now just look at where you're at, and you got to look at what you've done and look at your track record. I'll go back one. You look at these last winning seasons, right? Some of these places that are on this list that haven't won in a while, it's not that they couldn't win. There's sometimes that they couldn't get out of their own way to win. Okay, North Carolina A&T is definitely a prime example of a place on this list that's kind of gotten in its own way. Okay, now everybody's had their opinions about them leaving the MEAC. I'll leave that alone. But for the sake of the conversation at hand, we as a people in HBCUs, we have to be able, as fans and alums, be able to contribute to the cause in a mighty way. Our giving, our support, our attendance, our advertising of our university. I live in Ohio. I wear Alabama A&M gear most of the places that I go. And some of you do the same thing for your alma maters as well. It is a part of a culture that has to shift in 2024, because I'm going to say this also to everybody that's watching. To think that money is just going to appear for us Now, I know that there's land grant universities, including my own, that is owed some money, a lot of it. But to expect that this money is going to get to us, it's going. If they haven't been funding us now, you know that they're not trying to fund us anytime in the near future. So at the end of the day, it becomes our responsibilities as a whole to try to fund our visions. And when it comes down to getting new coaches and getting new ideas, some of this is going to have to help with accelerated budgets or elevated budgets. But in order to get elevated budgets, man, it's going to take some more support than what we've been given, unfortunately. And I know it's kind of like when you go to church and sometimes you like, man, the pastor asking for another offering. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, the money's needed because as you can see, yesterday's price ain't today's price. It ain't today's price. Okay. So retread, recycle coaches. Let's get away from that stuff, man. Let's try to do some new stuff. And also some of the names that have been thrown out there, some of the easy ones that have been thrown out there, they say, oh, this is a no-brainer. They should look to hire this guy. No, man. Athletic directors, boards, search committees, hiring committees, go through the whole gambit. Look at everything. Look at people. I'm not, I'm not doing a comparison, not trying to say that we're like the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Mike Tomlin got his job because they took a chance to interview him and he wowed him in the interview. Now look at him 17 years later, still the head coach. And that's where it's at, y'all. Retread, recycle coaches, we getting away from it in 2024, headed into 2025. All right. Next point. Let's talk some transfer portal, okay? Transfer portal, it has not officially opened up. It's going to open up on the 9th, okay? Now, when it does open up on the 9th, you're going to see a lot of transactions of people officially entering the portal. So far, this is just people who've declared that they're entering the portal and the notables among the HBCU ranks. Okay, you know about Giovanni Gibson and Makai Hagans from UAPB. You know about Andrew Jones, who declared yesterday, or no, 2 days ago. And Javon Robinson was yesterday, the receiver from Grambling. And Jamari Taylor, he declared right about the same time as Makai Hagans and Giovanni Gibson did. And so with the transfer portal, I want to say this also to folks. If you have not paid attention, and I talked a little bit about this on my show on Sunday night, if you have not paid attention to the proposed settlements that the NCAA has, you should go back and do a search and do a look on it. I'm not going to get into it tonight because it takes too much time. But for the sake of that time, I'm just telling you that the ability for higher levels of football, the FBS, to be able to start getting paid, that is something that people are trying to get to. And also with the increase of rosters, okay? There's an increase of roster sizes. It's going to go from 85 scholarships up to 105 scholarships. And they're going to cap the roster limits, okay? And so while it's going to create some opportunities where when they have that hard cap of roster limits, it's going to create some opportunities where people are who originally would be walk-ons or originally, would try to get into the FBS. They're not going to be able to do it because there's not going to be roster spots available. And so there's going to be over 2,000 more players that are going to be able to play at the FBS level. Okay. So at the end of all of the cycling of people transferring up and people getting picked and reselected and all those different things, there's still going to be a whole lot of players that are not going to have a home, that are going to be looking for homes, and they're going to come to FCS schools because they just want to play. Okay. So keep an eye on the transfer portal because, and also, let me also say this to everybody. I know that you draw some relationships to some of these players. I do too. But when these young men look to transfer, just wish them well. I know that you might get disappointed, and I've seen some words about, oh, these guys ain't loyal, this, and that. Look, if you had the chance to do it, you would too. What's good? What's good, my boy Doc? And what's good to everybody? Make sure you hit that like button, y'all. I'm just simply just saying, though, you gonna see this list by the end of the time before this early cycle closes on December the 28th. This list, you're gonna see it. It's probably gonna be at least maybe 5, maybe 6 times this. So there are people who are thinking about it. And you're gonna see a lot of people who are gonna make their decision that they are about it. Okay. So that's the transfer portal. All right, now let's get back into the game that takes place on Saturday. Okay. Now, I previewed a lot of this on Sunday night. I'm not going to completely go all the way in on this preview. Okay. Because it was very exhaustive on Sunday night. And, but what I really want to do is I just really want to connect with everybody because I got a few Southern Jag fans in here, like this one and this one. And I've got some JSU fans like this one and this one and this one. And then we got a lot of SWAC fans in here, people who just want to just see a great game. Okay. But this is how it is, y'all. It's going down in Jackson. And I expected to see this one. I always expect to see this one. It's going down in Jackson. And as you know, they played back on September the 14th. Okay. And it was 33-15. Now this game's going to be on ESPN2. Notice the network and the time, ESPN2. Now what I want to say is let's just make sure that vet is packed, man. Make sure it's loud. Make sure it's a great spectacle for HBCU football. Okay. Now I'm going to go back into this again because there's a few other things that I wanted to say that's really interesting. Okay. Now, the left side, obviously, the scoring defense and the scoring offense of Jackson State. They put up a lot of points. But then you look at the splits for Southern. Okay. Now, you look at the fact that they give up a tick more than what they score. Okay. And look at the scoring differential. Okay. I put that there. They have scored 259 points and given up 262 points. That is wild to be 7-1 in your league and 8-4 overall, and you have a negative point differential. That is one thing that is wild. Okay, I hear you. I hear you, Merlin. I hear you. But as a Jag fan, you might want to look away on some of the stuff I'm going to say coming up here. Okay. Now I added a couple more things. There were a few oversights that I had when I did this on Sunday night. It really didn't matter, but for the sake of the discussion, I added it. Okay. What I added was the UAPB and the Bethune-Cookman games. Okay. The most points that has been allowed, Jackson State, they allowed the 41 to Grambling. But really, to me, the most points that Jackson State really allowed as a defense was the 38 to Alabama A&M. And the reason why I say that is because pick 6, fumble recovery for a touchdown in that Grambling game. Okay. But that 51, yeah, Merlin, that 51, that 51 is what really inflated your point differential. Okay. But when you look down this list and you see the comparisons of the common opponents and you see the struggle wins and versus the dominant ones. And he said it. He said, that's the SWAC West for you. And you know what, Paris, you're right. They technically did score 14 because they drove the length of the field twice. And the other points they got were set up off of turnovers or returned for touchdowns from a turnover. So you're right. So, but look at the splits. And the worst game of the year, and Merlin, you holler at me, and Teldrin, you holler at me too, because you can agree. The worst game in SWAC play that they played was that game against FAMU. It was terribly awful. They had no offense. They couldn't throw it. They couldn't run it. Okay. FAMU game for Jackson State. That was the game where FAMU went a little bit loose in the first half, and then they scored nothing in the second half. Right? Yep. Terrible. And you know that they scored nothing in the second half when they played FAMU. I mean, FAMU scored nothing in the second half when they played Jackson State. Okay. Some of these splits definitely will concern you if you were a Jag fan, though. You know, definitely would concern you. Okay. Now, let's go to the next one. The most pass yards. Okay. Now, both of these passing yards, I said it on Sunday, I'll say it again. Right? The 279 against Grambling and the 387 the first time against Jackson State, a lot of those passing yards came when both teams were behind by a lot. And you know, when you're behind by a significant margin, the running game goes out the window. All right? So you can see that. The most pass yards were allowed and the most pass yards gained was in that Jackson State Southern game for both. Okay. And then you can see the FAMU was where Southern allowed the most. And then you see the rush yards, 295. Now, this is one thing that'll scare you too if you're a Southern fan, because you look at the most rush yards allowed by Jackson State all year, 210. That's it. 210. And you know, Alabama A&M had one of the better offenses in the league, and that's all they allowed was 210. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to need to run for some yards on Saturday. You're going to need to. Right? So, and Hattie Rawls, to your point here, you said they got a different team and they got 3 new people on the O-line. Okay, yeah. We'll see if that makes a difference. Now, here's what it was in the first matchup, and this is where I'm going to make my point here. The first 5 possessions is what told the story the first time. And I'm not even going to sit here and tell you it'll be the first 5 possessions this time. I'm going to simplify it and say it may be the first 2 or 3 possessions this time. Because where Jackson State and fans from Jackson State, y'all remember this game, y'all left a whole lot of meat on the bone early in that game. Y'all know that 16-0 lead after 5 possessions, you knew that probably could have been 24 or 28-0. Instead, it was 16-0. But you saw Southern, they punted 5 times in their first 5 possessions. And you knew right after that, you knew it was all over with. Game was over. It was finished. So all that next 5 possessions, it didn't even matter because of what happened in the first 5. That was it. And I can guarantee you, I'll bet the house on it. If you punt 5 times in 5 possessions on Saturday, this game will be over by halftime. You somehow, some way, got to find a way to start early and find a way to stick in this game and make it a drag out. Because I can tell you now, Jackson State is going to try to ambush you just like they do everybody. They try to get fast, get out early, go for it. What they did against Alcorn State in that last game, if that version of Jackson State shows up on Saturday, forget it. That team at Alcorn had 3 penalties for 20 yards and no turnovers. 3 penalties the whole game, no turnovers. And in this game, the first time they played, look at how many turnovers there was the first time. 0. If Jackson State doesn't turn the ball over and they run their offense in a regular pattern, forget it. And I can also tell you this, if you're a Jag fan, look at those rush yards the first time. You get 29 yards on Saturday. Where is it? This right here. You get 29 yards rushing on Saturday, right there. So going back to what Hattie said they got a different team now and got 3 new people on the offensive line. We gonna see. We gonna see. Because Kobe Dillon as well as Kendrick Grimes, those guys got to be able to do the job. But you can see what it was, and that's how it is. And so, as I said before, you look at through all of these stats from the first time, it was what it was. And by this point, you are what you are. So you got to find a way to stick in this thing if you're Southern. And lastly, y'all saw my pick Sunday. I'm making it again. This is my pick. And so, and I'm just kind of feeling like I'm just doing this and I'm saying this as my pick here with this score because I feel like Southern is going to do a few things, especially in the first half. But ultimately, don't see it, man. I don't see it. So that is the game. So now this is the time where I want my whole audience that's watching, holla at me, make your picks. Give me all your picks. Give me the score. All that. I expect to see the same answers, and I expect to see some different answers from a few. But those that are by a few will definitely be speaking from their heart and not necessarily really seeing it for what we all see it as. Okay, children. 24-21 Southern. 35-10 Jackson State. Say, it could be by 1 point. We're winning. 44-10 Jackson State. I like that, Tony Santana. 35-17. Everybody's thinking the same thing. 24-10. Now that could possibly work, especially if you get the rain that they said that might come. But 35-17. Oh, here's Merlin. I expected no different. Griffin with the walk-off field goal. What's up, Zoe? 38-13. 38-6. 42-7. Let's see. 20-10 JSU. And Paris says the rain's not coming. All right, cool. Yeah. So we got a couple sentimental Southerns, and we got the rest of the, here we go, 35-13 JSU. So we got a few sentimental picks, and then we got a lot of, how you feel about it. And William, I would expect nothing different. 49-10. And then we got 35-21. Yeah. I really believe that Southern's gonna play better. I think they're gonna play with heart, a little bit more heart and a little bit more urgency in this game, but that's not gonna get it, man. He said, my heart says SU 24-20. Yeah, your heart says it, but your mind says something different. 42-0. Wow. Man, we got some side bets going. Said, put your money up, Merlin. Put your money up. Since you said that, put your money up. Oh, man. That's pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious. So, I just really believe, in this game on Saturday. And I'll say this with my keys. Some of the keys to this game, I'll say it from a Jackson State perspective first. First thing, Jackson State, just realize that you don't have to win with style points. There's no committee. This ain't the college football playoff where you got to impress somebody to put you in the Celebration Bowl. So, and also you got to remember too, you win this game, you're getting on the road and heading to Atlanta to play next week. So, you just want to just be able to get a win. Style points don't matter. Also, Jackson State, run the ball like you've been doing. If you run the ball like you've been doing, they're not gonna be able to stop you. You're gonna be able to control that clock. And also, the best way you can allow these guys in the game is turn that ball over. You don't turn that ball over or limit your turnovers, you'll be just fine. And also, like I said before, come out and just come after them and impose your will. You're the better team, you're at home. Impose your will. Those numbers I showed you earlier, ladies and gentlemen, when they punted 5 times in 5 possessions, that's how you can impose your will with the defense. Southern, biggest thing you can do, you just got to embrace the fact that you're an underdog. It's okay. There's always got to be an underdog in every story. You got to embrace the fact that no one believes you can win except you. And also, you got to just be able to take some chances like you're an underdog. You got to try some trick plays. You got to try some exotic looks. You got to do some things that's maybe a break from your norm. And then also, the things that you do good, you got to do it better. You can run the ball, but you need to run it better. Now, Jackson State, the most they gave up on the ground, I showed you all year was 210. If you can get up to 210 and maybe exceed 210, I believe you'll have a chance. And then lastly, if you're Southern, you can't turn the ball over at all. Because if you're giving this Jackson State team extra possessions, they already don't need any help. They're fine enough by themselves. So if you turn the ball over, Southern, you're doing them another favor. And so, what you said, Zo, said every 3 and out for SU is a killer for them. Yep. And they had a lot of them in that first matchup. And that's what I said. If you jump on them early, and you get out 14, 21 nothing, it's a wrap, man. Because once you get that crowd going and they get to waving them pom-poms and the band get to playing and all that stuff, man, nah. That air that you breathing, it'll get thinner real quick. So, hey, congrats though. Southern, you made it to this game, but now you got to do something with it. And so my last comment that I'll say here about this game, for both sides, and I'll say this from a Jackson State view first. You guys have built something really, really strong here. This is your 3rd appearance in this game in the last 4 years. And you're attempting to go back to the Celebration Bowl for the same time in that span. Jackson State's built a really, really good team. They built a good foundation. The most important thing that you got to do from here, though, is if you get through this game, you got to do what you got to do to try to get that coveted, elusive, win that Celebration Bowl. But you got to look at everything on Saturday and take care of your business at hand first. Take care of your business at hand first. And last but not least, man, make that thing great. Make it so those of us who were watching the game on television, make us wish that we were there. Now, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at the Celebration Bowl. I'm going to be there having a good time. I hope to see many of you there. It's going to be cool. But I want to see these fans come out in full force. And I want it to be where all of these other leagues look and say, man, look at what they got down there in Jackson, Mississippi. So he said, you believe your boy Jalen Woods is going to put on a clinic, 350 yards plus passing. Yeah, look at that. He said, I think they'll play more than one QB. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Both teams played 2 quarterbacks in the first matchup. Always laugh when I see this, man. That's hilarious. Hilarious. And you know, Crook, it wouldn't be you, Crook. Wouldn't be you, Crook, if you didn't talk about their stadium. One of these days, Crook, you gonna let this stuff go, man. That's their stadium, fam. That's their stadium. And let's see. Congrats to Coach Graves. And make the SCG great again. Yep. So you say, what top defense has Southern played against? You know what? I'm so glad you asked that. You know what? I'm so glad you asked that, Paris. Let's go get the diagnostics, shall we? Let's see. Let's go get it. Let's get the diagnostics and we can go through the schedule. I'm just letting it upload for you. I've got everything. You know, you ask, you shall receive. Wild Wayne stays at the ready here in the lounge. You know. So it's loading itself up. It's coming. Stick with me, y'all. It's coming. Because we're gonna go back and go through that schedule. And then once it comes up, then y'all can see it for yourselves. Let's see. Grambling defenses who made JSU. You know what, man? What he said, no, it's not house. But come on, man, stop it. Leave these folk alone about their stadium, man. Okay, let's go. Let's go to Southern. Okay, where you at, Southern? I passed it. Here it is. Okay, here we go. Obviously I didn't update this so they won the Bayou Classic, so you know it's 8-4. Okay, we know that. All right, look through it. The question is what Paris asked: what top defense has Southern played? I'm gonna keep your question up here. What do y'all see? They didn't play Alabama State. Let's see. Definitely wasn't Alcorn. FAMU, kind of pedestrian on defense this year. I was at the Alabama A&M game. We gave up a lot of yards all year. Bethune-Cookman definitely gave up a lot of yards because I know A&M, we put 701 yards on Bethune-Cookman. Wasn't Pine Bluff. Maybe you could say, no, wasn't last week. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The answer is none. I can't find it. I mean, a Southern fan, I know you will probably be able to admit this. You guys had a lot of struggles on offense. And when you look at your point differential, how you scored 259 points and you surrendered 262. So he says, what point are we making here? The question was, what elite defense or what great defense or what good defense did Southern play against? I'll probably say the one or top defense. Yep, top defense. I'll probably say the one back on September the 14th. That's the one I probably will say. I'll probably say the one on September 14th was the best. Now, when you flip to the other side of the coin, which one did they play? Man, definitely that Alabama State one. That Alabama State, man. Man, if those guys had an offense, whoo, Lord. But anyway, that was the point. So, said battle tested. Yep. So, yep, you said exactly. So what's the point? We knew the offense was an issue all season. Yep. So, but here's the thing. One game season for everybody. That's it. Yep, Merlin, the only defenses was Jackson State and Bama State. Point blank, period. Yep. And I will also say that Southern being the top passing defense in the conference, I kind of talk about that Sunday night. You know, you guys went up against teams that really didn't throw the ball. So that kind of skewed the number. But it's not to say that you're not capable. It's not to say that you're not capable, because on any given day, anybody can be knocked off. You guys know that. There's no guarantees in this stuff. None. No guarantees. But the numbers and also the eye test, it tells you that Jackson State's going to win this game. And but Southern, good luck to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a good time here in the lounge tonight. My next show will be Sunday night. And on Sunday night, I'm going to have a couple of guests that are going to come on and join me. And what we're going to do on Sunday night, we're going to recap this SWAC championship game. And then we're also going to get you some updated information about, some of the movement with, coaching, if it's changed by then, or we'll have more of an elaborate talk about that. And then also we'll get some initial talk about the Celebration Bowl, because that team down there in Orangeburg, South Carolina, who's been off since November 23rd, is ready to get on the field and play a game. So we're going to kind of talk about that. And then also, we got some other key nuggets for you. So let's just enjoy the game on Saturday. And also, I want to send another shout out to, I want to send a special shout out to those Virginia Union Panthers. In Division II, they're also alive. They're in the quarterfinals, and they're taking on Valdosta State on Saturday as well. So shout out to Virginia Union for doing big things in Division II, staying alive. So I enjoyed my time as always. I hope everybody had fun. 55, all the likes. Everybody, click the likes. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button. And I'll see y'all on Sunday night. All right? Thanks for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Thank you for joining us on the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright. As you exit the ride, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the like button, and catch up on all of our prior episodes. Until next time, God bless.